Now I've made the repair to this end. Goes from there to there. It was rusted out along the seam, so that's done. The other side I'm working on at the moment, this is the one patch panel I made before. I'll just tacked it in place, and I actually had it up into in position, so I actually made sure it fit properly. But now I'll put it on a flat surface so I can stitch all those welds together and then clean it up. So that's coming along nicely. I've marked on the rear of that panel where each of these pieces are, so I can drill the plug welds on the, let's see, the two red dots. What I did was to screw some bolts in from the rear, put a dab of red oxide on the end of the bolt, and then pushed this in place. So that's given me the position for the holes that'll go in for the engine frame. So that's all ready to go. I'll finish that off tomorrow. Shouldn't take long. No, I won't drill that just yet, but I'll make sure it's cleaned up and take any heat distortion out of it, and then I'll come back over to this side and make a section to go into here. So it'll come up to about there. So that will be the next bit to form. Got this repair section done. It worked out okay. The few things I've still got to do. There's a couple of holes here. There's one there and one there that I used for mounting the car. I've got to fill those up, so still got to do that. Just coming to the other side. I've fabricated this repair section. Did it the same way as I did the other one with a wooden form. I'm just fitting it at the moment. A little bit of work to do, particularly around the heater box area. I haven't cut it where I'm going to make the repair yet. That's the next thing I've got to do, so I'll work on where I'm going to cut the original panel. So that's getting close to being welded in as well. So this stage is coming along quite nicely. Now this is the form I used to make this side. I've just welded it in, not completely. I haven't welded the top flange or the bottom flange yet. Drilled all the plug welds, made sure they line up, which they do. Just a bit of a comment about the form. It's easy enough to form the metal around. Of course, certain places you have to shrink the metal, and other places you actually have to stretch. So in this lower area here, or this area here, you actually shrink the metal, and here it stretches. Now it takes a while to form that around the edge. The initial result is not as smooth as that. Now I'll finish that on a metal surface, not tapping it too hard, otherwise you actually stretch the metal, but you won't get a perfect shape on the form. You'll get very close, particularly where you're shrinking, which is here. You're actually folding the metal and then forcing it in on itself, so it's not as neat there on the form. And the other thing to remember on the form, when you take it off, you will find that the panel is, I'll call it distorted along here, and it's because of the shrinkage and, sorry, the stretching and shrinkage on the panel, so it actually warps the panel lengthwise. To remove that, I just put the edge of the panel in a shrinker, a hand shrinker. You've probably seen that before, and I just shrink the metal to straighten the panel. It doesn't take much to straighten it, but you do have to, because this is stretched, you'll have to shrink this to bring the panel back to a straight line. Anyway, so that's just done initially. It's not finished off. The welding is finished, but I've got to finish the panel. Now I'm just, before I do that, I've started to look at how the, that's all that is on. The suggestion that I've been given on the E-Type forum is to address these vent outlets here to direct more air into them. Now I've got a prototype that I'm going to cut out on the other side of the garage. I haven't done that yet, but it'll have a deflector on this end and a scoop on this end. Now it should direct the air down into the vents, but of course this duct also feeds the windscreen vents. Now I'm not going to go and put more vents on, or sorry, more deflectors on there, because the more you put, you're actually obstructing air all the way through. I'll just have to rely on I guess the pressure of the air in the duct to force air up into that, and of course if these vents are closed, there's only one outlet, which is these three holes, so hopefully that will work reasonably well. That's how I could put little scoops on the end, but this stage I'm not going to. So if someone suggests that, I'm not going to do that at this stage anyway. Now the modified air duct or air vent pieces have been made. Now this piece, this deflector shield here, I'll weld to the body, and it's designed so that the panel, when it comes back on, I'll just lift it up, this panel, the front edge of the panel here lines up with the edge of the deflector there, so there's no gap between the external air duct and that piece of metal. This piece here won't be welded to the external air duct, but it'll be such that when the external air duct is fitted in place, it will force this down, so it will actually hold itself in place. In effect, it's spring loaded when it's welded in. So that one really, it's catching the air at the end of the duct, and so basically you've got the external duct coming down that side, and the air will go straight down into the duct. The front vent is a little different. This one is actually a scoop. I've moulded, you probably can't see that, but that's not a straight edge along the back. It's moulded around the curvature of the vent. So it's low enough not to block the whole vent. So basically you've got the black piece above it, maybe a little bit more than the black piece there above it, free, and you've also got the outside of the the scoop here, which is free for airflow. Now I've kept it reasonably low so it doesn't interfere with flow of air to the rest of the system. So I'm sure it will pick up a fair amount of air, probably not as much as the end, but this one's a left-hand drive vehicle, so this air goes down to my feet, and I'm not too concerned about air on the feet anyway, but it should be an improvement on the original system. So they're all done. I've just got to weld those in. This one is independent, of course, it's just welded to the body. I haven't put the plug weld holes yet, which I'll do probably next, because as I said, these two will weld to the body, and then the cover will go, this external cover will go over the top. So anyway, they're finished. Now everything's ready to start welding back in. I've just finished welding this piece onto the air duct, and as I've said before, these are all finished, these scoops. I've just got to make sure that I've got everything in the right position when I put this back on, so I can weld it up. It's going to take a fair bit to weld in. A little bit difficult on this end. I toyed with not welding this on and welding it on in the car, but access is a bit of a problem, so I'm pretty sure I can weld that in. I've got to be able to feed the MIG welder in there. Now I've already, let's see down there on the MIG welder, I've put a bit of leather around the end of the MIG torch. The reason for that is that when I get the welder in here, it's likely to touch and arc out, so the leather will stop that. The repairs to the front panel here, I can just put it up. It does fit in. I've finished the repairs on this end. The repairs go down into that area. All this, of course, was new. I've finally put the captive nut in this area here. This is for the heater. So I took the captive nut off the old panel, so that's done. All the holes that are there are just for plug welding. The other side was just this end panel that I cut and took off. That's all been repaired, so that's fine. The mounting holes I had for the rotisserie, there was one up in there. Can't remember, I can't even see where the other one was. Somewhere around here. I've filled those holes, so they're fine. So all I'm going to do with this panel now, and I'm about to do it now, is to put a good coating of red undercoat on the inside, and I will probably paint it with enamel as well, just to provide a bit of extra sealing. So anyway, at this stage I'll just take that off and spray it up.